Picture this, spring of 2018, a quiet, sleepy town in eastern Pennsylvania. The kind of place where nothing ever happens. Until it does. It started with a single phone call to the police. A woman living near the edge of town swore she could hear someone crying. Not outside her window. Not in her walls. But from beneath her house. From deep within the ground. The officer who responded was thorough. He checked the basement, the sewer access nearby, even the storm drains running along the street. He found nothing. Everything was quiet, still normal. He probably logged it as a strange but isolated incident. Maybe old pipes, maybe the wind. But 2 nights later, another call came in. Different house, different street, but the same terrifying story. Muffled screaming. A human voice filled with panic echoing from below. By the end of that first month, there were 12 separate reports. 12 different families, all reporting the exact same thing. And it was always between 1:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning, that dead zone of the night when the world is supposed to be silent. The descriptions were chillingly consistent, a trapped voice, desperate and terrified, coming from under the earth. At first, the police department tried to rationalize it. They explored every logical possibility. Could it be strange acoustics from underground water? Pressure, old pipes groaning under stress? Or was it something psychological, mass hysteria, maybe? Where one person's fear spreads like a virus through the community. They wanted a simple answer, a neat explanation to put everyone's minds at ease. But the answer they would eventually find was anything but simple. The investigation took a turn when they brought in the canine units. These were highly trained police dogs, accustomed to all sorts of strange and stressful environments. But when they were brought to the locations of the reports, something bizarre happened. The dogs refused to approach specific patches of ground. They would plant their paws, whine, and pull back on their leashes. Some would sit down and begin trembling uncontrollably. Their handlers, seasoned officers themselves, reported this behavior as highly unusual. It was as if the dogs sensed something primal and dangerous that the humans couldn't. With the animal evidence adding a new layer of mystery, the town called in the city engineers. Their job was to map out the town's subterranean world, the gas lines, the water mains, the complex web of sewer systems. They brought in sophisticated sensory equipment to detect anomalies, but their technology started to fail. On site, sensors that were supposed to give clear readings would malfunction repeatedly. They would spike to maximum levels, indicating some massive pressure or energy source, and then just as suddenly drop to zero. It was completely inexplicable. The ground beneath this quiet town was hiding something that defied modern science. And that's when a maintenance worker named Thomas Reed entered the story. He was a veteran employee, the kind of guy who knew the town's infrastructure like the back of his hand. He was assigned a routine inspection of a sealed utility tunnel that ran beneath an old, abandoned rail line at the edge of town. It was a forgotten piece of the town's history, locked up and ignored for years. On that fateful night, Thomas Reed entered the tunnel at 9:40 p.m. He never came out. The search and rescue operation was launched immediately. Teams descended into the darkness of the tunnel, their flashlight beams cutting through the stale air. They found his things scattered along the path. His flashlight, lying on its side, its beam still cutting a weak circle on the dusty floor. His hard hat. And most chillingly, his radio. It was still powered on, emitting a constant, crackling static, as if it was trying to broadcast a message from a place with no signal. But there was no sign of Thomas Reed. No sign of a struggle. No blood. The tunnel was structurally sound. There was no collapse, no cave-in that could have trapped him. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. But he hadn't. The search team found something else. Something that wasn't on any city map or engineering blueprint. Behind a thick, reinforced concrete wall, there was an opening. It had been sealed using outdated industrial methods, the kind of construction you wouldn't see in the modern era. And behind that wall was not just another tunnel. It was a sprawling network of them, a labyrinth of passages far older than the town itself. The air that drifted out was ancient, cold, and smelled of damp earth and something else, something faintly medicinal. The discovery of these hidden tunnels sent investigators digging into the town's history, poring over dusty archives and forgotten records. And they found it. The land where the town now stood was once home to a massive psychiatric institution built in the late 1800s. The kind of place you read about in Gothic novels, with imposing architecture and a dark reputation. The institution was officially closed down in 1936. Public records stated that all patients had been safely transferred to other facilities or released. The story was clean, tidy, and officially closed. But the internal medical logs, discovered deep in the state archives, told a very, very different story. These were the private, day-to-day records kept by the doctors and nurses. And in those logs, dozens of patient files were incomplete. They had names, admission dates, and doctor's notes. But they had no discharge dates. No death certificates. No documentation of a transfer to another hospital. They just stopped. The records for these patients simply ended abruptly. And as investigators read through these faded, brittle pages, one phrase appeared again and again, scrawled in the hurried ink of a long-dead physician. Next to the names of the missing patients, the note was always the same, patient relocated below. The horrifying truth began to dawn. The asylum hadn't just treated its patients, it had used the tunnels as a place to dispose of them. The voices people were hearing weren't pipes or pressure. They were echoes of the past. Echoes of the people who were left to die in the darkness beneath the ground. Faced with a discovery this horrific, the state acted swiftly and decisively. The tunnels were permanently sealed. This time, there would be no shortcuts. Concrete was poured by the ton, filling every access point, every entrance, every crack. The locations were erased from all public records. The town was officially reassured that there was no danger. The story was buried, literally and figuratively. And for a while, it worked. The screaming stopped. The nights in that small Pennsylvania town returned to their peaceful silence. For 2 years, there was nothing. People began to forget. Life moved on. The story of the voices from below became a local legend, a ghost story to tell kids around a campfire. Then, in 2021, the calls started again. But this time, it wasn't in the same neighborhood. It was miles away, in a newer development on the other side of the county. The reports were identical. Muffled screams. The same hours, between 1:30 and 3 o'clock a.m. The same desperate, trapped voices. It was the same phenomenon, but it had moved. The horror had somehow migrated through solid earth. And that is where the official investigation ended, abruptly. No further statements were ever released by the police or state officials. No additional excavations were ever approved. The official story is that there is no story. It's over. But the people who live there know it isn't. To this day, no one can explain how voices, human voices, can travel through miles of sealed tunnels and solid ground. No one knows why they stop when one area is filled with concrete, only to return somewhere else. It's as if the agony itself is alive, seeking a way out, always finding a new place to surface. Some residents in these new areas still sleep with earplugs, desperate for a silent night. But others will tell you something even more disturbing. They claim the sound isn't just coming from below anymore. They say it's gotten closer. They say it now comes from inside the walls. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as unsettling as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the unknown. Stay safe out there.